glasses when we're older. Just saying. And to put it simply and plainly, I want grandchildren. What's the connection with Adolf Hitler, you might well ask? Well, the argument is, and it's a very sound one, that if you consider the numbers of people who will be harmed or who will die because of our delay in reducing our carbon emissions, then 6 million dead, or even the 75 million dead during the Second World War, well, that's going to look like an underestimation. Now, of course, I was not confronted with the choice as to whether to shoot the Prime Minister and kill him, or her, identity secret. But I was asked to determine whether or not there was a case for the Prime Minister to answer, and my daughter says, I didn't even do that, and I say, that does not make me complicit. I'm terribly sorry. I shouldn't shout. I'm working really hard to convince you. Really, it's my fault to win round public opinion. That's bad enough, but I've learned to deal with it. But the family court, that's what worries me. It's not my job to determine whether a law is fair or not, I say. That is for representative democracy to decide. And one thing that comes out of this is indeed about democracy. There are indeed, it's already been introduced to you, there is an idea that we need to go beyond short-term thinking and vested interests. And so there are these entities, they're known as citizen juries or citizen assemblies. You may have heard of them. And there are suggestions and calls for citizens' assemblies to be given more legislative authority, that is to say, more power. We need something to replace the House of Lords. This could be it.
A referendum has granted citizen assemblies legal power. Citizen assemblies are a representative group of citizens who are randomly selected. They debate policies and issues based on information from experts in that field and then make recommendations. Until now, politicians could choose whether or not to follow their advice. They have been renamed citizen juries to mark this transition from advice only to actual power. The first citizen jury will consider key climate policies, and whichever are chosen, Parliament must enact. If they get through the trial period of a year, they will upgrade to a full House of Citizens to replace the House of Lords. Like the juries, a different group of people will be selected for each topic to deliberate upon policy.
Yes! My daughter has told me that if the citizens' juries get through that trial period successfully, then she and her partner will try for a child, for a grandchild. Of course, the Prime Minister is spitting mad about the prospect of citizens' juries. And apart from those who really hate the idea, and I'm sad to say there's plenty of them, most believe that this could be the silver bullet to tackle climate change. Now, maybe I'll be a granddad after all. But, I know that it really isn't my place to put pressure on Lauren to have grandchildren. I know that, but her childhood went past so quickly. She grew up before I was ready. And I was always so busy. I was hardly ever at home. I admit it, I wasn't the father I should have been, and I just would love to be the best granddad ever. This music's very sad, Daddy. Yes, she's lost who she loves most in the world. What do you mean, like I love Mummy? She's singing because she knows she'll never see her again. When's Mummy coming home? Mummy's looking after Granny. I want Mummy now. I want to see Mummy now. Where's Mummy? Ah, there she is. Come on. Let's go tell Mummy how much we miss her. Hello, love. Hi, yeah, good. Hi, you're still ringing, darling. Okay, that's fine. It's a party line. So old-fashioned, these directors of public prosecutions. Darling, I've got someone here who really misses you, really wants to speak with you. Mummy, come home. Please, Mummy, come home. Lauren, all grown up now, has turned up. I only just heard about the murder this afternoon. Can you believe it? My last week, this lands on my desk. I was hoping they wouldn't find out, but of course, Lauren works in a hospital, so naturally, she'd hear. Dad, is it true? Is what true? There's a man in the mortuary with 2 knitting needles sticking out of his chest. Rumors are that he was a member of the citizens' jury. Mary, my wife, gasps, no. Yes, it is true. Are you going to prosecute? Well, yes, of course. The victim was the only person to vote against a climate policy that they all believed would avert a climate crisis. There's a clear motive. But if it comes to court, Dad, you know it'll mean the end of citizens' juries. You know it will. It's not my job to second guess the result of me doing my job according to the law. Well, you can kiss goodbye to your hope of being a granddad. I will not be blackmailed into betraying my principles by your womb. I don't know how you could think that. I'm just scared. How could you think? How could you interpret that as blackmail? Mary, peacemaker as always, Mum tries to calm her down and me down, and I can't budge. Mary always gave in to Lauren. She always bent too much, and I can't bend in my position. It's no fun being the bad guy. But I don't have a choice, and someone has to stand firm. I keep trying to say that to them. I keep trying to say that it's not my job to inquire into what wrong or right with the law. It's just my job to interpret the law. I can't let personal costs interfere with my duty. And Mary says, you're only human. And I say, next week I'm human. This week I'm Director of the Public Prosecutions. And then Lawrence says, what is one person getting away with murder against the future of the planet? And now I have her. Ha ha! The end justifies the means. Is that it? The greatest good for the greatest number? Really? No. What if I kill you and take your organs? I save many, many lives with your healthy heart and your kidneys and your liver, and I improve the quality of life of many others with your eyes and other body parts. Should I do it? No. Lauren gets very angry, emotional. You don't care. To you, the climate crisis is just a theory, but to us, it's visceral. It's existential. That's what you old people don't get. I haven't got through. And I calm myself down. 40 years of unblemished service in my career to betray my principles in my last week. And then she plays her trump card. We had so much hope, Daddy. She always called me Daddy when she was upset. And she wanted something. Please, Daddy, please, just this once. Let it go. It's been a long time since she called me Daddy. And I say, remember, Mum, when Mummy was away, and she says, yes, used to play me sad music. Mary says, I was always so upset when I rang you. You were always crying. I used to feel so guilty. And Lauren says, that was probably the point. I say, what do you mean? And she says, you wanted Mum to come home so you wouldn't have to look after me. And I say, I love those times with you. I was just about to say, that's why I raised it, how much I regretted not being with you at bedtime and how much I loved those times with you. And she says, then why did you tell me it was about someone whose mummy wasn't coming back? And I say, that's not what I said. I said it was about losing someone they love. Christ, you too. Both of you, you just can't stop guilting me, trying to force me into betraying my principles just because I won't compromise. Mary says, calm down. I say, allow me to be upset that my wife and daughter don't understand me. Oh, give us a break. Bullshit. Mary says, don't speak like that to your father. She says, no. I'm sorry, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. He puts himself above us. He tries to suggest that he's so perfect and objective and that we're just weak-willed women who don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not having it. She gets out her phone and she says, all right, you want evidence? Let's see, shall we? And she finds the song. She starts to play it. She starts to scroll through and she says, there you are, you see? It's not about someone losing something or someone, it's not about missing. It's about a prostitute who was bribed with diamonds to seduce a man. I can't believe it. Oh, yes. You can hear the sinister notes in the opening bars. Yes. It's someone trading on love to get what they want. And a voice is relentless in my ear, telling me that something I thought was beautiful was actually cynical and manipulative. That I guilted the woman I claimed to love into coming home, into leaving her dying mother because her daughter was crying for her to come back. Lauren was fine. I just played her the saddest music I knew. I told myself it was just that I was sharing my love of opera with her. And I'm telling her that I had a job and I had responsibilities, important responsibilities. And she's saying it was the devil's work. And I'm saying it's ridiculous, but actually, I don't know myself anymore. And her voice is relentless in my ear. And she's telling me that I am the main pillar in a system that's driving us to extinction. And I say it's the envy of the world. I say it is given representation and it is given a presence to everyone. It has made sure that everyone is equal under the law. It has given everyone the vote. And she's saying it's not fit for purpose, and I'm glad, because now we're off the subject of my duplicity. We're off the subject of me. But I still have to save face, and I say, I am just doing my job. And she says, was Adolf Hitler just doing his job? Were the Nazis just doing their jobs? And now I have her and I laugh. Godwin's law. The first person to bring Adolf Hitler into the argument loses the argument. Sorry. I'm sorry, what? So you're saying I brought Hitler into the argument? Well, manipulative, yes. Manipulative. I wanted my wife back. I wasn't prepared to pick up the reins, not even for a week. I prided myself on my unimpeachable integrity, my morals and my honesty. I just worked on my wife to bring her back home because our daughter was crying. And Lauren's pleading with me now, please, Daddy, please, just this once, let this go. Sorry, this is difficult. This is this is the last case of my entire career. And I don't know what's right. I don't understand how I could have been so certain before. It's not easy being the Director of Public Prosecutions, I can tell you. My daughter wants me to let a murderer go free. And, you know, I could get out of it. I could say, insufficient evidence to prosecute. But the motive is clear. This person was in the way of a climate policy approved by so many representatives, agreed upon, confirmed by experts, and accepted by all the people involved. It was done and dusted. And these people decided that this policy was in the very best interests of the entire world. Now, if it was a normal situation, I would say, sorry, I agree with you, but we can't have vigilantes. We can't go around killing people. But after all, I have to be honest. I ate beef last week. We have more than one car. We went to Greece on our holidays. We flew. Not one of us has a clear conscience. Not one of us, but we have to believe and affirm and deal with the courts, with the law. We cannot do otherwise. We have to do it properly. The penal system serves as a deterrent to crime. And it's there to give justice to everyone. If we don't deliver that justice, then what do we open up the law to? What do we open up our world to? What do we allow? But what if the figures, the victims, aren't countable in the same way? What about those numbers? What about them? Not just grieving parents of a murdered child, not just an old couple who were too scared to go back to a burgled house. But a 90% chance that this action or that inaction will kill this many people in that many places. Let's be clear. We are talking about millions, maybe billions of victims of the climate crisis. Of course, press will have a field day. I can just see the headlines. Murder in the citizens' juries. Mary and Lauren are right. They're absolutely right. People will pay attention to this. This will kill, no pun intended, this will kill citizens' juries stone dead. The media don't care. They love the theatre of parliament. They love the theatre of politics. Every pronouncement, every ridiculous, controversial, nonsensical outpouring from any politician, and they lap it up and they amplify it. The media, that's a business. And citizens' juries? Well, there's no vested interest. Quiet, considered, thoughtful. There's no theatre in that. But the media, big business, they choose what is the news. They go for news and entertainment and politics should not be entertainment. We are at a stage now where we have to consider the most stark and real issue before us now. And believe me, there are many stark issues, but this is the most important. We are facing the destruction of the planet. And I wonder if we could just make sure that I have the figures there, because, and the next one, because I don't want to get these figures wrong, forgive me. Next one, please. So what's coming on the screen, which is what I was waiting for actually, is the question from the live streaming, which is there a realistic prospect? Is there a real prospect of conviction? Well, yes, I have to answer you. There is a real prospect of conviction. Everything that I've learned, everything that is part of my experience, everything is part of my training and my job description, tells me that I must prosecute. But, as we all know, the future of humanity is at stake. The future of the human race. Every moment we hesitate, and forgive me for that hesitation, but I wanted to make sure that we got the questions in. Every moment that we don't take action, a tipping point is passed. And at what point am I, as Director of Prosecutions, culpable? At what point am I guilty of just doing my job? This is a big decision. No single person should have to, no single person should be allowed to make a decision of this magnitude. What do we have? What's at stake? Do I
You have until the end of the music.
Do I prosecute? Could I just put the question to the jury? Do you mind? I just want to put the question to the jury, because every step we take, we put humanity at risk. But at the same time, do we let this person go free? It's what my daughter wants. It seems to me that humanity is at stake. What do you think? Let the person go free, or prosecute, because we can't go around killing people? I want you to be my jury, please. That's it. It's just an idea that's come in. Would you be the jury? I know it was announced earlier, but this is the moment. Could you be the jury?
You have until the end of the music, about 2 minutes, to decide.
You're a selection of my peers. You are my jury. Prosecute or don't prosecute? Can't hear, sorry.
I'm so glad that
Can I continue? Sorry, Denise. Yes, thank you very much. We're going to continue, if we may. Thank you very much for your vote. Are you enlightened in any way? There we have it. There we have what? So what has this been about? What was the aim of the story? What is the aim of my character story? You've already been told more than once. No spoilers, I'm not the Director of Public Prosecution. But we do have a climate crisis. And there are decisions to be made about our institutions, about our economic models, about our laws, and about our democratic processes, so that we can meet the challenges of the 21st century. Now, citizens' juries, citizens' assemblies have been tried and tested, and they have received very positive results. The discussions have been considered, they have been informed by evidence, they have been strong, and they have shown at least a tendency towards long-term thinking. And there are movements afoot to reconsider our democratic structure. Will there be something to replace the House of Lords? Or, put another way, what kind of legislative authority could there be for the kind of citizens' assembly, the kind of citizens' jury that you've actually provided us with today? And well done. A house of citizens, perhaps. What do you think? Now, it's been revealed umpteen times that I'm not the director and that I'm an actor. I had legal training. I'm politically active. I am a husband and father. And I'm sorry to have to say to my character, I have grandchildren. We, all of us, each and every one of us, we have decisions to be made about our families, about our communities, about our institutions, our economic models, our laws, and our democracy as a whole. so that everything can be updated into the 21st century, and to meet the challenges of this time. The most urgent and existential of which, in a very clouded field, and I say clouded in a Freudian way, but I mean also crowded field, is the climate crisis. Thank you all for being part of the citizens' jury. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We're now going to have a changeover of sustainable microphone. And you want?
In the pocket and the next one. All right. There we go. Cheers. Right, you take a look. Oh, I've got to find out what's in your pocket now.
Nothing incriminating.
There's your condoms. Right, thank you. Well, we've got time for a Q&A if anyone's got any questions about the play, about citizens' juries, about the climate. And I was going to say, afterwards, we wouldn't mind having some vox pops. Anyone's got anything to say, feel free to say it to camera. We'll be sort of gathering a bit of feedback as well at the end. And I know the QR code wasn't massive, but that's why we have the programs. So Jed, feed me if there's any questions coming from the live stream as well. Yes.
You say that citizens' assemblies have worked in other places. Can you give us some examples of where they've worked and made some good decisions? Yeah,
so they're particularly useful when politicians don't want to go there. So there's things like, say, same-sex marriage or abortion, whichever way they vote, they're going to lose half their voters. So Northern Ireland had two very, very good citizens' assemblies on same-sex marriage and on abortion, and then that enabled them to feed into government policy, and they could say, we have a public mandate for this. So in Belgium, actually, in East Belgium, they have one that's a permanent part of the system. And they have a council, which they're there for a year and a half, and they choose what the citizens' assemblies will do, and people will come along, say, 6 weekends in a row to discuss specific issues. And then that gets fed back into to government policy. So there's some examples there. Oh, good point. So it's a process called sortition. It's a bit like a normal jury. So they will send out, say, 1,000 invites randomly, and maybe 12% will reply. And then from them, they will make sure they get a representative sample in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, class, and so on. Yeah.
Are these assemblies in primarily democracies which are proportional representation? Because our system of first past the post, as we know, is archaic and stupid. There's no consensus of opinion. It's kill them or kill them.
I'm not going to argue with you there. So they're all over the place. So yeah, a lot in Europe. They're pretty big in Europe. We had a climate assembly. I don't know if you know Southampton, which recently came to a close. When I went to Cuba, they had their own version. They're called more like revolutionary councils, where policy is fed through 90% of the people, and they give feedback, and then they amend it on the basis of that feedback. So you find it in all kinds of societies, not always called citizens' assemblies. Yes?
Reading your strengths and weaknesses in the program, this is often not effective when used to achieve a preconceived outcome. So how can we know that, let's say, the government got a citizens' assembly about climate change? How can you know that the government does not have their own desired outcome, considering they don't seem to want to do much about climate change already? What is the citizens' assembly actually going to do to change it?
So that's a really good point. Citizens' assemblies, the process has been shown to work really well. If you give people responsibility, they seem to take it and run with it. And people who went in thinking very differently come out glowing about it, actually, saying how wonderful it is to have these kind of debates in a way that doesn't sort of amplify division, but brings people to consensus. So all that is lovely. But then if you then take it to government and they say, actually, you didn't do what we wanted you to do, we'll forget it. It's just like all these select committees that you run and they give really, really good recommendations and then government don't take them up on it. So I had a really good analogy of that, is that citizens' assembly is like a muscle, but the tendons to attach it to power are still underdeveloped. So in the Belgian one, where they actually have quite a good system, if the government's going to reject their decisions, they have to give a blow-by-blow account of it. So they do have to work and justify why they reject it. So they are still a long way from actual power. Yeah.
As they are unelected bodies,
Mm-hmm.
not elected, which is just about how the House in the first place. This is an unelected body. What about if citizens, if they gave recommendations which are then put to a referendum, which would therefore give you a democratic outcome, which at the moment it doesn't, because it's not democratic.
So one of the problems with referendum, citing Brexit, is, is that you're at the mercy of the people with control over information. And most of it is misinformation. So one of the ways that I think citizens' assemblies can be quite strong depends on the quality of the information. And just like in juries, you will have experts informing them, experts who, are probably going to be way more neutral than Russian infiltration of our social media, for example.
What if the citizens' jury, the citizens' assembly, gave their opinion with the only information that you were allowed to see? You can't have, you're not getting information from different political parties and all the rest for your referendum. You've got what the system jury said. That's what you're voting on. That's your information.
The assembly members can ask for extra information. They can require extra experts to be brought in. Yeah. Let's talk later, Adrian, because this is going to be a long one, I can tell. Yeah.
How are the assembly proceedings managed or facilitated?
Yeah, so generally what you have, in my play I've only got 8, because that's a good number for who done it. But in reality, you tend to have between about 50 and 200. So I think an average might be about 100 people. And they're sat around in tables, maybe about 6 to a chair table. Each one has got someone who is a trained facilitator. And they're there to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. There's not one person dominating, and that debates are kind of properly conducted. So that's normally how it's run. And they have an agenda of things to discuss. They have evidence to look at, and then they talk about it and bring their own views to it. Yeah.
I was on a jury a few years ago, and it was a very powerful experience, and it would influence me, with this discussion this evening. That's going to be the main influence. And I was just wondering, how many people here have had the experience of being on a jury?
Are you talking about a jury, like a case or a citizen jury?
A criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal case,
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, I wish I had, but I don't.
My experience was that the jury, they took it really, really seriously, and I talked about it for a long time, and I was just so impressed because I wasn't expecting it. There's a whole range of people, and on the first day they weren't really bothered, but everybody took it seriously, and it was quite an easy case, but we all came to the same conclusion. But the discussion was in depth.
Yeah.
And it was serious, and it was the right thing, and I wasn't expecting.
I think that's one of the things with citizens' assemblies. Everyone thought, well, I'm not sure I'd want my mum making decisions, or whatever. But actually, I would prefer my mum making decisions than the people we got in power at the moment. But I think that's one of the interesting things that's come out of it. And I went to the feedback from the climate assembly where people were there who'd been part of it. And they really could not say enough about how blown away they were just by the process, actually. Yeah. Yes.
I'm glad you had
on the criminal jury, I had the opposite. And I came to the conclusion that our jury system needs fixing.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I think that's why the importance of having trained facilitators there is very important. I saw loads of hands go up. Yes.
I sort of asked what you want in terms of the play, what do you want to happen next with the play, and what can we do? What would you like from us?
Okay. What I wanted the play to be is to start the conversation. So when I've talked to people who do research in citizens' assemblies and are promoting them, they say the biggest barrier really is lack of awareness or sort of misunderstanding about what they're about. So I think culture is a really nice way to raise awareness in a kind of fun way. So that's already happened. So just to sort of prepare the ground, plant the seeds, and see where that goes. Do take a flyer if you'd like to come along to the proper whodunit. That's on in Shirley, I think 16th to 21st of September. So tell people about that. And there's a website as well. On the Green Stories website, I've got some information on citizens' juries and theatre as education and so on. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, yeah, what if they don't agree? I mean, so that's really what the play's about, isn't it? That somebody didn't agree, so somebody killed them. So, you know.
Is there anything coming in from, so Jed, there's nothing coming in from that side, okay.
While I've got your attention, 60% of you would prosecute, 40% not.
Oh, right, okay.
Wait, this audience.
This audience and the people on the live stream.
I'm proud of you.
So these kinds of questions matter if they have actual power. At the moment, they have the power to recommend, and that's all. So the recommendations they put forward would go forward and be considered or not. So, yep.
I actually had one question following that and asking from the person who was against the climate jury. Was he outside of was he just a policy maker?
Oh no, so this is the play, and so if you come along in September, you'll find out.
Right. Fair enough.
Yes.
What's going to replace citizens' jury in 100 years' time?
Sorry?
What's going to replace citizens' juries in 100 years' time?
Oh my goodness.
We've taken the existing political system, you're saying replace it. I'd say what will replace what you're suggesting.
Okay, so I think at the moment, most of our institutions were designed before we had globalization. They were designed when governments had power, whereas now actually businesses have more power than governments in a globalized environment. They were designed before the information age and social media. So our systems have not caught up with where we are now. And so I do think they need updating. In 100 years' time, I can't predict. If we're still I would just be really, really glad if we're all still living and flourishing in 100 years' time as we are now. So I couldn't even go there.
Let's hope there's still a planet.
My brain will be in a jar, and it might have it might have an answer for you then. Any yes.
I'd like to talk to probably very controversial things. But the first one I would throw up is it really that bad for the planet if humanity goes? Just throwing it out there. And the second one is, and I might not be informed enough, but is the House of Lords the problem or the House of Commons?
Oh. Yeah, you're right. The planet will be fine. I don't know how all the fish swallowing plastic will take to it, but maybe they'll lots of swimming credit cards is how I picture it. But you're right. We and mammals like us will probably be the first to suffer. The planet will be fine. House of Commons, House of Lords. Yeah, I mean, they're talking about getting rid of all the unelected ones, the hereditary ones, but that just leaves you with Prime Minister's cronies. So I'm not sure that's a good thing. I just think, right, let's just get rid of the whole thing. And I'd like to replace it with the House of Citizens. That might have been obvious. I don't know. We haven't worked out the details. What do you think, Jack?
Denise, I don't think I've been arguing. It's for the sake of the planet rather than the survival of the species. I mean, I do talk about the survival of the species, but it's the planet.
Yeah.
So yes, it's more take care of the planet rather than let humanity survive.
Yeah.
That's how I read it, even though I mentioned it, but good point.
Just an observation, actually, if you remember when we went to COVID, about how everything became clear, like the sea became clear, and animals that would normally be, obviously sea animals, you started seeing them in places that they hadn't been in years.
Yeah.
And even Western Shore, but I looked at the water, that started looking blue again.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yes, I think we are obviously I think that in itself shows what damage we're doing to the climate. When you see what happened when we went into lockdown for a few months, people weren't going to the beaches, and we weren't going on cruise lines.
Nature recovers very quickly. What doesn't recover is icebergs once they melt. That's what worries me at the moment. Yes, Francesca.
I do disagree slightly about the. I mean, sure, technically, if the whole of humanity suddenly got wiped out in extinction, then species would carry on and the world would continue turning. But I disagree with this idea that the world is better off without humanity, because I feel that we're mammals. We come from Earth just like every other animal, and we're meant to be stewards of the planet.
Yeah.
And I just disagree with this idea, oh, well, we should just get rid of everyone, because that's not true. We belong on this earth just as much as everything else does.
We do.
And for hundreds of years, or no, thousands, tens of thousands of years, people have been looking after the world, and it's only until recently that we've forgotten how.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I love that term, stewardship. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes?
Is it really to ask another one?
Yeah, there you go.
Can I ask about what can happen to engage school children and young people in all of this discussion?
Well, this is going to be put on by Embley School at the end of the year as their sort of Christmas sort of whodunit. It won't be quite so epically sort of catastrophic. Jack ad-libbed a bit there. But I did the catastrophic. But yeah, the whodunit element and some of the climate solutions. So one of the things I do prefer to do actually is talk about the solutions rather than the problems, because actually it's quite easy to solve it. We've just got to look at who's in power and who's making the decisions on whose behalf. We know what we've got to do. It's not hard. So it's just a question of, doing it, really. Yeah.
So just quickly, do any of the major political parties have it on their agenda, their manifesto, or they even in their brains?
Yes, so, well, it was Keir Starmer, wasn't he? He was talking about getting rid of the House of Lords. And there's, I think, citizens' assemblies. I'm not sure Labour speak as one voice on this, but there's quite a lot of support from their camp. The Greens like it. There's a lot of different groups who really like it. Some like it from the participation aspect and the more representative, because you tend to find that people who can get to politics and so on aren't the most representative. But whereas you do get a more diverse group of people making decisions who understand how people live. So yeah.
Denise, can I ask the audience a quick question?
Of course.
Could you put your hand up if before this evening's event you knew about and were in favour of citizens' assemblies?
Can we ask the two questions separately?
Well,
you're confounding it. It's a confounded question.
You know what I mean. If you were in favour of...
Let's start with know about. Who knew about citizens' assemblies?
Let's do it.
Okay. Who didn't know? Oh, well, that's good, isn't it?
So who has changed their mind, to simplify it, and is now in favour of, knows about obviously, but is in favour of? Who's changed their mind and is now keen on citizens? Okay, so could we have a complete show of hands of people in the audience who are in favour of citizens?
In favour of exploring the issue.
Yeah, this is just an awareness raising exercise in the first thing, because like I said, we haven't worked out those details of how power would be shared yet. I say we, no one's asking me actually, but yeah, like I'm sat there. Well, let me think about it, Mr. Prime Minister. Yes, no, I'm afraid not. Any more questions? What time is it?
If we want to do some votes, it's 8:45.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope this has been fun and educational. And if you'd like to say anything to our camera crew, they'd really like to hear feedback from it on what you thought of the play and the ideas and so on. So we're not going to get kicked out of here for another half an hour. So come and talk to us, and do please, there's a box at the front where you came in to put your programs in. So take a moment to fill in the feedback and give your views, and take a little flyer for the play as well. So thank you very much for coming. You're going to give some box pops. Where are we going to do the filming?
Getting off the stream.
Is it,
Check with Jen, I can, but that we can go straight away.
is it going to be in the foyer?
Yeah, some catch people need.
Yeah, we'll catch people, people talk in the foyer.
Foyer is quite. Foyer is quite.
Is it? I have to turn those off though.